milk prices making things sour for dairy farmers. We'll explain in today's recommended daily allowance of CNN Student News. I'm Carl Azuz. First up, President Obama promises to increase help for America's veterans when they come home from combat. At a VFW, or Veterans of Foreign Wars convention yesterday, the president said supporting troops is an issue that all Americans should be able to agree on. During his speech, the president said he plans to get rid of what he called wasteful programs that use money he believes will be better spent to support U.S. troops and veterans.
Thank you.
And Mr. Obama repeated his pledge to have all U.S. forces out of Iraq by the end of 2011. Now, back at the White House, presidential officials say Mr. Obama is not giving up on the idea of a public health care option. We told you yesterday the president is in favor of a public or government-run health insurance program, while some lawmakers strongly oppose this idea. As Jim Acosta explains, the president might be shifting his stance.
Now wait a minute.
After weeks of congressional town halls gone wild, the Obama administration is now keeping its options open on health care reform, specifically on the crucial question of whether Americans should have the option of joining a government-run plan, the so-called public option.
And I think what's important is choice and competition, and I'm convinced at the end of the day the plan will have both of those, but that is not the essential element.
And there were no lines in the sand drawn by the president himself at his own town hall in Colorado.
This is a legitimate debate to have. All I'm saying is, though, that the public option, whether we have it or we don't have it, is not the entirety of health care reform. This is just one sliver of it.
The White House is spending less time pushing the public option and more time talking about injecting competition into the health care marketplace to drive down costs and give Americans more choices. The president is stuck. Keeping the public option would anger Republicans and some Democrats in Congress who insist a government-run plan would drive private insurers out of business. Dumping it would disappoint liberals who see a surrender on the public option as defeat.
If he backs away from the public option, is that health care reform?
It's absolutely not health care reform, no. We need the kind of reform that's going to improve the lives of families and communities everywhere.
But this is not the last of the public option debate. Supporters and opponents of health care reform are spending tens of millions of dollars on commercials that are slated to air well into the fall, a campaign-style overdose of political advertising not seen since the election. Jim Acosta, CNN, Washington.
Is this legit? A furlough refers to time off from work. Legit. A furlough is usually a temporary layoff or leave of absence.
It's something the city of Chicago is trying out in an effort to help its budget. City Hall, public libraries, most other city offices and services were all closed yesterday for the first of Chicago's 3 scheduled furlough days. Officials say the plan could help save more than $8 million because when city employees are furloughed, they don't get paid. But emergency services like the police and fire department did stay open. Well, city employees are one thing, but you can't really ask cows to take a furlough. They produce milk whether they're on the clock or not. And dairy farmers process that milk so you can buy it at the store. But as Deborah Fayrick explains, right now, that production process is costing the farmers more than they make.
Every morning, bright and early, you'll find Alan Bourbeau and his 2 sons milking the cows at their farm in St. Albans, Vermont.
I've been doing it for 34 years. To be able to have a weekend off, be awful nice, but I cannot go afford to pay an extra man right now just to work 2 or 3 extra mornings a week, just so I can have that luxury. So.
And you're the chief executive officer.
Yeah. Chief of everything. Debts and all.
And the debts right now are soaring.
We're definitely running negative, yeah. 4,000 or 5,000, something like 6,000 negative.
Every month.
Every month.
Why? Last year, demand for U.S. dairy exports was high, and milk sold at a record $19 per 100 pounds, about 2 of these jars. That price has plunged to $11, less than what it actually costs dairy farmers to produce it.
This is certainly not overblown. This is the worst crisis that the dairy farmers probably have ever seen.
Right now, farmers are in a position where they're paying to go to work every day.
Last month, the U.S. Department of Agriculture took the unusual step of raising support prices by about 15% for dairy products through October.
Hopefully these actions will suffice and get a lot of dairy producers over this rough patch they're going through.
Maybe, maybe not. While the cost of milk is going down, the cost of virtually everything else to run a farm is going up.
Last year my fertilizer cost was roughly $20,000. This year my fertilizer is $25,000. I have done nothing different, except now I got $5,000 extra.
Like many farmers, Bourbeau has been borrowing from the bank and cutting corners.
We're trying to cut the grain, cut every cost that we possibly can, but trying not to lose too much milk production.
Sons Justin and Eric know every cow and every inch of land. What they don't know is whether there's a future here. Obviously, this is in your blood. Are there some days where you think about giving it up?
Yeah, more often now than before.
Still, the Bourbeaus have faith things will turn around and that they'll keep the farm for generations to come. Deborah Fayrick, CNN, St. Albans, Vermont.
Don't just watch the news, talk about it. Our daily discussion will get you started, including the media literacy question of the day. It all helps you understand today's headlines, and it's all totally free at cnnstudentnews.com.
Time for the shout out. What was established as the first U.S. national park? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it the Grand Canyon, Niagara Falls, Yellowstone, or Stone Mountain? You've got 3 seconds. Go. In 1872, Congress established Yellowstone as the first national park. That's your answer, and that's your shout out.
That first national park got a visit from the first family over the weekend as the Obamas toured Yellowstone. There are actually 391 U.S. national parks, and back in February, the economic stimulus bill set aside funds to help repair and upgrade a couple hundred of them. Kate Baldwin looks at exactly where that money's going.
From Shenandoah to the Grand Canyon, America's national treasures in need of some serious repair.
As we come around the back of the cabin, you'll see that the siding is all rotted along the ground, which means the dirt has come up to here and moisture's gotten here and has rotted all this wood.
Rocky Schroeder is a park ranger at Prince William Forest Park, about 35 miles outside of Washington, where more than a dozen historic cabins are slated for repair, one of 250 national parks getting spruced up thanks to the economic stimulus.
The stimulus will help keep our visitors here, keep them happy, keep them coming back.
The Park Service estimates national parks across the country face a $9 billion backlog of work. The stimulus is supposed to contribute $750 million to that. So far, about 10% is in the pipeline.
It's campgrounds, it's campsites, it's amphitheaters for evening programs, it's the bathrooms, it's literally everything that we have to make our visits enjoyable.
Nearly $56 million is going to repair Washington landmarks, more than $14.5 million to Mesa Verde National Park, and nearly $11 million to the Grand Canyon, to name a few. But when it comes to this money, you have to ask, how is money for national park stimulus?
It's stimulus because we are putting people to work. We'll be putting people to work for the next 2 years. But it's also stimulus because we are creating a better place, increasing the visitor experience.
Some Republican lawmakers aren't buying it.
Well, clearly we need to improve our national parks, but nobody should confuse that with economic stimulus. I mean, frankly, that's just false advertising.
The Interior Department estimates this stimulus target will create about 8,000 jobs over 2 years. Many will be temporary jobs, but this park ranger is confident it's a worthwhile investment.
The national parks are our past, our history. Preserve that. That's where we come from. It'll give an idea of where we're going.
Well, before we go, there's always lots of great food at the fair, but you don't have to eat it all at once. Well, actually, that's the point of this gastronomic gorging, to funnel as many funnel cakes as possible into your mouth in 10 minutes. The winner managed to cram his craw with nearly 6 pounds of cake. So what did he get besides a stomachache? $1,750. Now that is a lot of dough. We're going to be serving up another show tomorrow. Hope to see you then.